So if we jump into this side, there's not been a lot of changes. There've been a couple forced changes. Caden Neville, or Cateran Neville, as Harry likes to call him,
Cateran.
Comes in for a Matt Phillip injury. We're pending confirmation on that injury.
Yeah, it's meant to come out later tonight, so I assume by the time that people watch this or listen to this that it will be confirmed. I know there was Rev from Rugby Fixation seemed to have the inside line on that one as well. So he was expected to play until there was an injury to rule him out, so I don't think it was a form thing.
No. And the other changes we've got in the forward pack, we've got Harry Wilson getting another chance, this time in the number 8 jersey. Yes, he's played there for the Wallabies before.
Yep.
With Valentini at 6, actually. I think it was last year against France. But good to see him back. Good to see him in his preferred 8 jersey. He brings something very different than the likes of Leota. He plays a lot more loose, destructive in open spaces, not as much of that tight kind of ball run of a Leota and even a Valentini.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose a lot in gain line, but it should be said as well that Rob Valentini is still playing. He's been shifted to number 6. Wilson, as you said, the takeaway for the last 2 seasons for him is that he needs to fix his footwork before contact so we can get through gain line. But I think he's going to bring a huge work rate, which I hope means that Pete Samu gets to run a little bit more because he's in fine form running with the ball running through a few of the All Blacks defenders. But look, I think they've got enough forward carrying ability in that side.
Yeah, look, I think Harry Wilson has transitioned from 2021 to 2022 relatively well in the Super Rugby season. He had a lot less tackle busts, but he had a very high number of run meters. I think he was looking for that space and looking a little bit wider and looking for gaps and not running into contact as much as he had in the past.
Yeah, I just think, as you said, though, the balance is what the team needs. Yep. And Rob Leota isn't making any runs out wide. He's just trying to get gain line at that one-up hit off yep. Nick White or Jake Gordon. So it'll be interesting to see how they work through that. I think the other thing to talk about the forward pack is, I think you mentioned Caden Neville, but Jed Holloway stays at lock as well. So he's a 6/lock. We've got one true specialist lock in this side, and then losing Leota as well, another potential lock jumper as well. I think we are a little bit short on our line-out jumpers, yeah. So I'm a little bit worried about that. Obviously, Parecki's got a bit of a bullseye when he throws, but yeah, not sure exactly how they're going to manage that, and I'd expect that maybe Samuel and Wilson would have to act as secondary jumpers as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Really interesting to watch how they managed that last week. They were obviously pretty aware of the fact that there was a big defensive jumping risk from the All Blacks. So they just played trick play after trick play after trick play. I don't know if they can get away with that 2 weeks in a row, but loved seeing it.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting concept. I think that sort of stuff can only work if the other team doesn't see it coming. And they don't need to know trick plays coming. They need to know exactly what's coming. So I think you can still get away with it occasionally, but they will have to look to the air a little bit more.
Yep. Moving to the back line, Jake Gordon and Bernard Foley get another crack at 9 and 10, meaning Nick White is on the bench. You've got Lalakai Feketi, Lenny Katau again staying in the centres. Cotton Betty will play his last test, I believe, of the year on the left wing, and then they've kept Tom Wright and Andrew Kellaway, so essentially unchanged. What do you think about that?
Look, I'm happy for the stability. There's been a lot of changes throughout the last couple of years. It doesn't mean that this is the side you're walking into the World Cup, grand final with if we get there. But I think it's good to have some stability after last week, and these guys deserve another crack.
Yeah, my big worry here is that we have no long-range kickers whatsoever. I think that if you're going to play a Bernard Foley with Kellaway at 15 rather than a Reece Hodge, you're going to take away 2 long kickers. You have to put Nick White in to start. So I'm a little bit worried about how we're going to manage our line-out and how we're going to actually manage the long kicking game for possession. So, I think if the All Blacks can be disciplined, we're going to really dig ourselves into a bit of a hole here where we might be facing a lot of time in our own 22, our own half.
Interestingly, I thought a similar thing last week, but it didn't necessarily pan out that way. Both teams look to play quite open, expansive footy and weren't necessarily looking to trust their lineouts too much and do other things around that. So I think, our game plan isn't kick it out constantly and work our way up the field that way.
Yeah.
But we still managed to get out of our 22 quite well. With
in the second
kicks
half.
And some better kicks
in the second half. Yeah.
Look,
first half, mate, we defended the whole half.
I think we need to get Hodge at some point, and he can help us close that game out if the game's tight. But I just want to see these guys have another crack. I do think it's a something that's missing for us, that kicking game for sure.
Yeah. On the bench, you got Falafanga. Angus Bell is back from his toe injury, and Pone Fa'amalsili, which means we think Taniela Tupou mustn't be right.
Yeah, I thought he was named to play, basically saying he was cleared and he was good to go, but he hasn't been named here. I'm happy to see Pone get another crack, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Rounding out the forward reserves, you got Nick Frost getting another run off the bench, and Fraser McBride.
Yeah, I think they're both impact players, and I think it'll be really good to see them come on. In terms of the benchies that we have in the back, we've got Nick White, who you touched on earlier. He really made that back line more composed, I think, when he came on last week, and his kicking was good. Reece Hodge and Jordan Pataya, so a fair bit of versatility in that back two. Yeah,
and obviously a lot of people calling for Vunivalu to get a start as well. He's been named in the Australia A side, so hopefully, as a few people have been saying, he does get to play just 3 lots of 80 minutes in that competition when they go over to Japan, and then we can see him playing a little bit more for the Wallabies in the Northern Tour. I don't mind Jordan Pataya as an impact player. I think he's actually really effective as a man that they bring off the bench late. I do just think that someone needs to put a bit more pressure on Tom Wright. You know, he had a few excellent games early in the Rugby Championship. I think he's been a little bit flat, makes a few too many mistakes. Discipline's not great. Just needs to clean up his act, and a little bit more pressure on that right wing would be a good thing. Having said that, I'm with you. I don't mind the fact that we're just leaning into the cohesion factor as well and trying to build some combinations. I know Rennie was quoted during the week saying that, you know, there's been so many injuries that it has been hard for him to pick similar sides week on week. So good to see that in the backs when he has the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's a strength for us this week, that just continuity from last week. But for me, if I had to make one change, it's probably Vunivalu coming in for Tom Wright. But I agree, having that 3-week test against Japan is going to be good for him.